think they're taking a breather. They're just waiting to see what happens in Washington. They do have some tools, but of course, as you know, as time goes on, the effect of those tools is less and less. And unless we see some movement on the reforms, on a banking union and those sorts of things, and that keeping on going, then I think the bank will really have trouble, you know, keeping rates low.
So many people are watching the situation unfold with a lot of frustration and a lot of puzzlement over what we're seeing happen in Washington. How much of a risk is this really for Eurozone growth, this uncertainty surrounding not only the shutdown, but more importantly, probably this debt ceiling issue?
Oh, look, I think it's a huge issue, and I think most people in Europe think it is as well. The debt ceiling issue is just so important because, of course, the U.S. Dominates the financial markets. I mean, the U.S. Treasury market is the benchmark for all the bond markets in the rest of the world. You just have to look back. Remember when Ben Bernanke, head of the Fed, started talking about tapering and U.S. yields started to go up? They went up everywhere else as well. So it's really important what happens in the U.S. And I think if we don't have this done reasonably carefully, we could end up with another Lehman's moment.
And no one wants to see that happen, and we're certainly hoping it doesn't get to that. A lot of people, I think, are betting on the fact we see a fair amount of complacency in the market. We're seeing a little bit of a reaction, but nothing on the scale of what one would expect, which leads me to believe people think they're going to work it out. But what about the sort of blow to confidence, the uncertainty? I mean, we are in a situation where Congress is governing by crisis. Does that hamper businesses' ability to make decisions, especially investment decisions, which are long-term and they're expensive?
Yes, of course it does, because it hits sentiment. They think, well, what's going to happen? And any uncertainty, you know, long-term decisions are expensive, investment decisions. So, you know, it's not just companies, but it's also consumers. You know, they've just started to get back, spending a bit. Things are looking brighter everywhere in Europe and in the US. But the growth is fragile, and the last thing you need is this sort of uncertainty. I think what the markets are saying is, we don't think it's going to go on for very much longer, and it will be solved. And I think as we start getting up to some of those deadlines, that if things don't look as though they're going to be solved in Washington, then the markets will get more volatile, and you will see. Remember back in 2011, when we had problems like this, the equity market dropped about 20%. So just got to be terribly careful here.